A while ago there was this niche VTuber drama going on, and who doesn't like a bit of drama? Me. Drama content is dumb. So I'm not going to talk about the details. There was this small VTuber, let's call her Lasagna-chan, who got a bit too silly with some of her fans in private DMs. And when this came to light, I saw some people say that this was a clear example of a creator and their fans getting a little bit too parasocial. And this really annoyed me, and it isn't the first time this has happened. I have a serious bone to pick with the use of the word parasocial. I hear that word a lot, especially in the context of VTubers and VTubers fans, and other internet personalities in general, but especially streamers, and ever since I looked into the topic some time ago, and by looking into it I mean going out of my way to read some research papers, because I'm a weirdo who reads stuff. Who even does that in 2025? I can't stop noticing that a lot of people use the word while having only a vague understanding of what it means. So they end up using it in context where it doesn't really apply. Or the opposite, people not realizing that what they are describing would be classified as a parasocial relationship, but they just don't know. And I'm getting tired of that. And as much as I don't like the idea of being that guy that goes, actually, and correct people over the definition of words, I will be that guy. And once I do that, maybe you can be that guy too. Go out there and be a pedantic nuisance. So let me offer some clarity on the subject, hopefully, based on what I read. I will link a bunch of sources in the description, I guess. Not that I expect you to read them, obviously, you bunch of weebs. You probably only read manga and hentai doujins, and your own restraining order. Let's start with a definition. What does parasocial even mean? The term parasocial interaction, or PSI, describes a one-sided mediated form of social interaction between the audience and a media character. While real social interactions feature bidirectional communication, PSI lacks mutuality. People can also form relationships with media characters. In this case we talk about PSR, or parasocial relationships, which endure beyond the single interaction. I want to point out the date. This concept is actually older than many might think. It isn't something that was invented only recently with the rise of streamers and internet influencers. PSI, or parasocial interaction, was introduced in communication and media studies back in the 50s, in a study about radio broadcasting. Specifically, they were looking into the fireside technique of radio broadcasting. For example, the Lonesome Gal, which honestly sounds like the origin of modern GFE ASMR. Also, it's kinda funny that people sent marriage proposals. I guess some things never change. It's just like asking your VTuber Oshi to marry you in Super Chat.
Ansan, thank you. Will you be my wife? Wife?
Anyway, the topic of PSI, however, didn't receive much attention until the 80s, when it was extensively developed in the field of communication science. And only more recently did it receive a bit more interest in the field of psychology. Now, let's clear some misconceptions. People use the term parasocial all the time with negative connotations, like, that guy is parasocial, what a freak. When in reality, everyone is parasocial. It is part of normal human behavior to have parasocial relationships. And we have examples of them all throughout history. People have non-reciprocated relationships with thousands of different characters. from real people, like actors, singers, even politicians, to fictional characters, like those from cartoons or anime. You fucking weeb. Yes, even fictional characters are considered when talking about parasocial relationships, because obviously there is no way for an interaction with someone who doesn't exist to be reciprocated. Basically, engaging in a parasocial interaction simply means treating a media figure as if it were another human being in an ordinary social encounter. That's a normal human response while watching any type of media. Also, it is important to point out that PSI is not necessarily pathological in nature. Only in extreme cases, its effects can be psychopathological in nature. When a person fails to differentiate between PSI and ordinary social activity, it can lead to delusional behavior, like for example this paper cites erotomania, which is a form of delusion in which someone convinces themselves that a figure is in love with them, without any concrete proof. What people actually refer to when speaking negatively about parasocial relationships is celebrity worship, or stan culture. I think the term derives from the Eminem song. Celebrity worship is only one of the many forms of the behavior known as parasocial interaction, which is a very broad and diverse topic. This is, I think, the main misconception when it comes to parasocial relationships, people equating this concept to stan culture when they are not the same thing. Obviously, being parasocial is a part of celebrity worship, but the concept is much broader than that, and it is part of every human's behavior. Let's also clear another misconception. One doesn't need to view a media figure positively to be in a parasocial relationship with them. Let's say Billy hates PewDiePie. That is also a parasocial relationship. Because unless Billy is in PewDiePie's DMs, chatting with him, and has a direct interaction with him, it is a non-reciprocated relationship with a media figure. It's by all means a parasocial relationship. So next time someone who hates VTubers says that VTubers fans are parasocial, you should point out that hating them is also a parasocial relationship. Got 'em! Another misconception that seems to be very common is that any interaction on the internet is inherently parasocial, which is not the case. The medium doesn't matter. If the interaction is reciprocated, it is not parasocial. It is a normal social interaction, even if the people interacting are not face to face. So chatting with your friends on Discord is not parasocial. So, going back to the example I made at the start of the video, a VTuber and a fan are not in a parasocial relationship if they are actively DMing each other. It is simply a relationship, as it is reciprocated by the media figure. So, I hope you have a better understanding of the concept now, and you can be a pedantic asshole each time someone uses the word incorrectly. That's all from me. Goodbye.